Hi everyone. I'm really sorry if I get something wrong. I'm on strong drugs, so forgive me. I wanted to talk to you today about ability of using the data in your products, AI and machine learning, and how to start. And from my personal experience, that it really matters that everyone do it. So, I'm Wojciech Ptak. I started coding when I was 8, a typical story. I started working professionally when I was 14. At the moment, I'm CTO of Freshmail, which is quite fun because we have a really large-scale system, a great dose of technical depth that you can care of, and really a lot of data to play with. So, I want to talk to you about our profession, software development. A lot of my colleagues will talk to you about stuff like Kubernetes and Docker, and why you should take care of that, and why it matters, how important it is to improve our processes, how important it is to learn. How important it is to learn software development practices, new frameworks, new techniques and technologies, etc., etc. But I wanted to tell you about something else that really starts to matter. It is about the fact that we all need to take care and learn about the data and our users. Why it really matters. So if you're into the data, welcome to the jungle. This is the landscape of data in 2008. And it's already quite large. It's a massive amount of information, a massive amount of products, of tools, toolkits, and techniques. So I really wanted to give you a quick heads up on why you should, how can you start. And to begin with, I should state that a new wave already has come. So. It means from every corner, you will learn that AI is taking over the world. That machine learning is something that you have to use. The data is something you need to care. But why? If you're familiar with Turing Awards, it's like a Nobel Prize in IT. This year is these three guys: Jan LeCun, Geoffrey Hinton, and Joshua Banjo. And these three guys have been selected for Turing Awards this year for their work on deep learning. It's the first time Turing Awards have been granted to guys working very closely with AI. This tells you also a trend. And the trend is that usage of data and AI is really taking over our profession. And we can use it, we have to use it actually in the future. So, just to give you a quick, also a quick introduction why it really matters, I wanted to ask you, would you agree that you have free will? And to show you how important it is to understand the power of data processing and AI. If you do, I would say, if you use any of these products, I would actually argue with you. Probably you don't. I mean, whatever you do at the moment, and of course there are more and more products, more and more companies that actually use AI and data on a large scale. But from the perspective of these companies, everything that you do is actually data-driven. You're being analyzed. You're being actually all of the data is being collected on you, and the behavior profiles are being created on you. So whatever you do during the day, whether you search for the product, whether you buy a book, whether you listen to the music, whether you watch a movie in the evening, AI is actually behind all of these products and the data. So it's all over the place. So, and going further, the next question I wanted to ask you is the coding of software truly the most vital skill of all? Because actually, I would argue that in the near future, it is going to change. So we are being taught that coding is the most important. A lot of my friends will tell you, learn that, it will actually give you a good profession. I will tell you, learn more than coding. Learn coding You learn about your users and learn about your data. And I wanted to take you on that journey. Why it matters? If you're familiar with Future of Jobs report, you will know, and I really encourage you to actually read it. It's a great 127-page report made by experts of World Economic Forum that predicts what the landscape of jobs and the work will be in the next 4 years. And on the bottom, you have top 10 declining jobs. On the top 10 emerging jobs, and 7 of those are actually IT and data related. You can looking into the future, there is actually more changes going to come. So there is a startup, and Szymek is here on the conference, one of the founders of Talent Alpha, and from his vision, actually, there will be a work without the work as well, and we will be able to work on the different products without having actually contracts from everywhere all around the world. So our landscape and our profession will change dramatically in the next years to come. Another question is, why a company like Microsoft would buy GitHub for $170 million? Well, machine learning is about knowledge. And we are a very specific profession. We export all our knowledge to the internet. We like our badges. We like our fact that everyone can see our code, everyone can comment on that, etc., etc. And I can tell you something is learning to code. It actually, it makes it worth to replace us because we are very costly. We are very hard to find, and true professionals are really hard to find. We take leaves, we take sick leaves, etc., etc. So something is learning to code at the moment. And I will give you some examples of that. So, what our profession may look like in the future. Sorry, there is a sound here, so I will just try to talk. So you can see already a startup that it's actually from April last year. So you can find them in the internet and check them what they're doing. So actually they're speeding up the prototyping, and as you can see, there is a code. It's actually quite well written already, and you can prototype your products very, very quickly with the use of AI. There is another really nice project, Catafix. It's a Facebook project. Most of our Facebook projects are really close, so you cannot find a lot of stuff about them. But it's a AI-driven project that learns how to fix commits to the repository of Facebook. Another one, also from Facebook, that shows the trend and the importance of actually AI in our profession is Facebook Aroma. It's automatic code recommendation based on the whole code base of Facebook. So as you code, there is an algorithm, there is a model that recommends you the code and actually makes sure that all of the code is equally good quality. You can actually play with some of these projects on your own. There is Kite, and Kite is a ML-based Python code competition. You can install it to any of your IDE, like PyCharm, for example, and you can already see how dramatically it changes. So guys, have a look. We no longer are going to learn how to code in a very deep sense of coding. We're going actually, this basic thing is going to be replaced by something that learns how to code. We're going to be, our responsibilities are going to be dramatically different. So how advanced some of the solutions can be. Sorry, there is no sound, guys, but this is a video that is completely generated. It's a 1-year-old video. So I'm going to skip it. But this is another. This is from 2 or 3 months ago, from NVIDIA, and they have created a tool that generates whole pictures on the fly with artificial intelligence. So this is how powerful AI can already be. You can see that somebody just paints a picture with a very bold brush, and AI is actually creating the whole landscape from all of the knowledge it has collected about the landscapes. And it does it, as you can see, pretty much on the fly. So this is how powerful it can be. It can also learn. On this picture, you can see that it can learn that changing something actually is being applied to the whole picture. So it's pretty smart, I would say. This is from yesterday. This is a demo from Google, and you already have a Google Assistant model on your phone with the new version. So you will be able, as a Google applications developer, to be able to use a very powerful artificial intelligence solution straight on the devices of your users. So they are able actually now to talk to their devices and get some functionalities launched or being operated by the voice itself. Number of solutions I wanted to really point you towards is ones that are built by OpenAI and DeepMind. It's called reinforced learning, and it can be a huge game changer, because as you know, you may be familiar with those models by some of the news that they're winning in Dota 2, in StarCraft, or other games with the top players. And I wanted to point you towards those because, as you can imagine, have you played StarCraft with your friends? I guess you have, or some other games. And you know, if you have a very good friend, there is no way you can actually beat him. And what has happened, those algorithms learned how to beat a human player, and they always win at the moment. And you can think about how complex a game like StarCraft or Dota is. How complex problems can be already solved by those algorithms. And I wanted to tell you, what if these algorithms can be applied not to playing games, but some other applications? So you can think about that. And think about, for example, our profession, or fintech, or any other, and you can think, okay, they can be actually very, very powerful. If you want to get into the details of those, I would really point you to these two books, Weapons of Mass Destruction. It's a very interesting book about how different models are being interconnected, and how are we profiled by different companies, and what it means to us as a society. Another very interesting book is Homo Deus. If you know me, you will know that I really like that book, and I really like to talk about it. And now I wanted to focus on the transformation of your teams and your company. So what is important? Well, a lot of people, and when you start to read about that, will tell you you need data, you need technologies, and you need that magical sauce that you pour on the data and your technologies, and you will have a machine learning, AI-driven company. And I would say, no. Actually, you will probably fail, because there is another key ingredient there. It's a people ingredient. And I really wanted you to focus not only on learning the new skills, but learning new skills with your team about how to talk, how to collect knowledge. A new world where our other responsibilities are changed from coding to building new solutions using ML is actually about collecting knowledge and automating it with the organization. So the most important one is the organization culture, is ability to collect domain knowledge and sharing and learning that knowledge with our team members and stakeholders. And this is really important. When Satya Nadella has taken as a CEO of Microsoft, he wrote a blog post where between the blog posts, you will find that statement that I really, really love. And you can see how successful he was, because actually he turned the company upside down, and it became the most powerful IT company in the world. So, if you want to dig into that, I really encourage you to read more about so-called data-driven organizations. So organizations that collect the data, know how to build the metrics, know how to build the KPIs, and can use all of that knowledge to find out more about the products, find out more about the users. And definitely worth reading is the Culture Code by Daniel Coyle, and you will find about the most successful companies from the last 10 years, let's say, and how they created the culture. It's a really, really good book. You can actually read it on the plane to maybe London, if you're a faster reader. So I really wanted to encourage you as a first step, take care of your team. If you're a team leader or an executive, make sure you create a culture of openness, a culture that everyone can talk. Data actually won't lie, and it requires the facts are the facts that you will collect won't lie, and that actually requires a culture that everyone can talk about it, even if the data shows that we're totally wrong. It requires, from my perspective, culture of mutual support, where everyone can count on every other member of the team, because it's actually really important. When you build ML-based solutions, I would say 8 to 9 times out of 10, you will be wrong. And you will require some other people to tell you about where you're wrong, what you have done wrong, what can you do better, etc., etc. In other words, it requires building a culture of learning. It's really hard. Not many, actually, executives and managers, from my experience, are really good with that. And that's really required. You will learn a lot about your organizations that you don't know and that you haven't been aware of. And some of the facts and some of that knowledge will surprise you. So you need to know how to do it. And it all ends with the culture of trust. And if you can trust each other in your teams, you will be successful. So I would say just work on that. When it comes to building knowledge in your organization, why it's important? Well, if you build a system, we are software developers, and we build systems. We're the vital blood of our organizations. Our systems actually are what our companies sell, what they do, what they're being supported by, etc., etc. So, in other words, we are responsible for understanding what is going on, what are the processes, how complex they are, etc., etc. So there is a thing like systems thinking, where which I encourage you to dig into, where it actually it's all about the holistic view of the system and being able to learn about the whole system as such. I really encourage you to do it. And how to do it? Well, I would just say start with why. So if you have the right culture, just make sure you start to ask a lot of questions. Why? Why is it working like that? Why are those users going to do certain actions in this way? Why is this functionality not being used, etc., etc.? So dig deeply into that. And don't assume. I mean, I will talk about one technique in a moment, and our author of that technique actually has a really good saying. We as software developers, we're very specific people. We assume a lot. And it's not our knowledge, but our actually lack of knowledge is being deployed to the production. So we assume quite a lot. We listen to other stakeholders, we listen to our users, but are we really? And then we assume a lot of stuff in our heads, and that's what being coded into our systems. So these are really the people that you need to talk to. I'm CEO of Freshmail, so these are the people who sell, who support, who market our tool. They know everything about our tool. And we as the software developers, as the IT department, we need to talk to them and to other users to find out about what's going on. So be kind, be humble, and be trustworthy with them, and learn about your system. This is really what I want to encourage you to do. There is a technique that I really like, that we use for last 2 years. It has completely changed the way we collect our knowledge. It's called Evenstorming. So if you're familiar with the trends in software development, you will know that. In the last ThoughtWorks report, it has been selected as a top technique that is going to be adopted. So pretty much in every organization, probably next 2 years, it will be used. How it actually works? Well, you collect in one room all of the people who are in the process that you are going to automate or build a software around, and you ask them questions, how it works. Describe the system in events, and then put the events on the timeline. And you will very quickly, within 2 or 3 hours, collect all of the knowledge of the system. You can learn about that technique. There's a picture from one of the sessions when we talk to our users, when we ask them questions, and this is one of the most powerful and lightweight techniques that I have seen. So I really encourage you to read more about that. If you're interested, I really encourage you to go into the book called Gamestorming. A really nice book about how you can brainstorm and collect knowledge. And I really encourage you to go to the Evenstorming book by Alberto Brandolini. That comes from the DDD. If you're familiar with software development, this is domain-driven design. It's one of the techniques of building software. So, if you're a software developer, what's the journey ahead of you from my perspective? It's understanding your product architecture. So we're responsible for understanding the knowledge, the system as such, but also understanding the architecture and being able to change it in the way that it actually produces a good quality data so that we can use it later. So these are a couple of techniques that I really encourage you to deep dive into. I'm not going into the details of them. I'm sure you're familiar with maybe most of them, maybe some of them, but this is the stuff that you will really find useful. So definitely go and have a look around them. I'm a huge fan of especially event-driven architecture. This is a really good book about it. It will help you to understand the concepts of event-driven systems that can use, for example, then the data on the fly to make the decisions, recommendations, fight abuse, etc., etc. So I really encourage you to dive into this book. Another couple of books, especially if you're a senior in our profession. I'm sure you're familiar with some of those books. If you're not, definitely worth reading. Especially Accelerate, which is the book from the last year, will tell you a lot about why top organizations, top technical organizations are successful, what processes are they using, what methodologies or tools are implemented. Really great book. So, going forward, I would just say, whatever your role in your team is, whether you're a UX designer, a software developer, whether you're a tester, architect, etc., just learn how to collect and use the data. And it's not a complicated realm. I mean, if you want to take a deep dive technically, you will find it really complex, and I will show you in a moment how. But actually, you can start very, very lightweight. Because we are, as a profession, very a specific kind of people, where we find it very interesting for us to learn new techniques, new tools, etc., etc. And when you go into the data realm, you will find a whole zoo of technologies and libraries and languages, etc., etc. And I would say these are not important, especially in the beginning. Whatever you choose whatever works for you. That's the most important. Because we're fanatic about methodologies, tools, and techniques. And I will tell you about another book that will show you that you can use machine learning without any language other than Excel, I guess, if you can call it a language. And you can do a lot of stuff for your company using the simplest tool that everyone has. And I would say learning is much easier, and it's getting much easier. It's about actually finding the right passion and the business goal. 12 years ago, I won Webby Awards with my team. we made a project after hours, especially because we found it fun. We took it to the board. We said there is a project that we need a customer for. We found the customer, and actually, I can tell you one of the best stories in my life has started by just being passionate about one of the things that we wanted to build, we wanted to learn, and we've then found the customer. I encourage you to do that within your companies. I mean, maybe not working after hours, but finding something that will make your gut move, and then just do it, and have a really good goal around it. Definitely worth reading is Originals. This is a book about people who changed our profession, who changed the companies, who built the companies, who changed the world, that changed the world. So I really encourage you to read that book. It's a great book. And there are a lot of legends about the people, like, for example, Bill Gates or Steve Jobs, and you will find about those legends from that book. Definitely worth reading is Thinking Fast and Slow. You may have learned about that book before. It will tell you how we think and how we definitely don't think, and actually we're convinced that we're thinking in a way, one way, but actually you find that probably it's completely different and opposite. It's a massive, when you go into the data, it's a massive amount of online courses and knowledge that is available. I have selected a couple that I trust, that I have went through as well, that I maybe even talked to some people who made those courses, and I encourage you especially to go from the easiest to probably the most detailed. If you go through all of that, you will definitely have enough knowledge to build some really complex solutions. If you went through some of them, you will have already a knowledge to apply some of the data solutions in your products. A lot of knowledge is for free at the moment. And these are probably the two best free resources that I have found that are easy to go to, easy to go through, and just build some of the solutions out of them. With this Deep School I/O, actually you will find a lot of code, working code. You will find a really good solutions built, and you can actually run them on your machines. I have recommended a number of books. There are another ones that I really encourage you to go to. If you're more on the business side, just take the Data Science for Business book as the first one. You will learn how to change the strategy of your product, of your organization. If everyone should talk about the data and be able to communicate the data, I encourage you to read the Storytelling with Data by Cole Knaflick. She actually taught Google how to present the data. And a really good book on hands-on machine learning is the third one. There is a new edition coming in a month. If you want to go deeper into these topics, the 100-page machine learning book and the deep learning and the designing data-intensive applications are really good places to start. A lot of papers are coming out every week. There is no way you can read them on AI, but there are places in the internet like 2-minute papers that will actually summarize a lot of that for you, so you can just get a summary and then go through the paper. Definitely, there is a lot of stuff worth listening to. So I personally like especially these four. So if you're jogging, if you're biking, there is always a couple of minutes that you can spend on learning something new, some new concepts. So where is it all heading? Well, I would say we have a concept in Freshmail, FreshDS, that we want to teach everyone in the company data analytics and machine learning. And we want to see what happens if you have a company that everyone in the team, especially the IT team, can build a machine learning model, can deploy a machine learning model, and use it in their own code. Because I believe in our companies, there won't be software developers and data science team as such. I believe everyone should learn data science, and everyone should use data for their products and their features. In every feature of your application, there is application for AI. And as you have seen those products in the beginning, they all use AI very, very strongly. So this is an experiment that we're building. And our future, from my perspective, I have found something like this data science manifesto, and you know there are a lot of manifestos. So I wanted to ask you, is it really about that? Is it really our profession about APIs, databases, et cetera, Because from my perspective, our profession changes in the future. And our profession is actually less about coding. Look at the word code, to code. It means to transform knowledge from a knowable and readable state to something unreadable. Even from the name of what we do, you can tell actually it's a secret profession of doing something. And I would say actually it is about us being the main and the core team in every company and being able to build the knowledge, use that knowledge and building that knowledge from the data that we can collect, and then aiding our products and aiding our functionalities from the data that has been collected. I really encourage you to start that journey. I really encourage you to play with that, to see what you can do. Whatever your role in the team is, you can actually aid your products with these technologies. And I would say AI is just a technology. It's like a hammer. So you can use it in a good way or a harmful way. But it's a technology that changes the world. And it will definitely change it. Look at the report from World Economic Forum. Read it, understand it. Our professions are going to be totally different in 5 to 10 years. We're not going to work like that anymore. So I really encourage you to take your first step and do something about it. There's a movie I wanted to show you. I don't have time for that, I guess. But I guess I just wanted to encourage you to do something really good with it and have fun on your way. I'm here. I'm on Twitter. I'm on LinkedIn. I'm passionate about this topic, so if you want to have a chat, just come along. Tomorrow I'm going to talk about machine learning on streaming data, so more technical presentation. So if you're interested in that, just pop in. I guess we'll have some fun. Thank you.